If you could describe the difference in the way that you live based in a city as opposed to out in nature.
Great question. I have been resistant, to say the very least, about being in cities for years now. I've been in the wilderness. That was the appeal of Mammoth to me, was that it was in the wilderness and away from cities, lots of amazing nature around, plenty of it everywhere you look. And it's that way here too. There's a lot of beautiful things in nature, or a lot of beautiful natural scenes here. We've got the ocean here, which is great. It is different though. It's very different. I feel like I have to be more guarded here. Making coffee, for example, or just making breakfast. I don't cook just in any old place anymore like I did in Mammoth. I tend to make my coffee or my breakfast and then go to the place where I'm going to be hiking or meditating or whatever it is that I'm doing, just because I don't want to draw attention to the fact that I have a whole bunch of stuff in my car and then walk away from it. My friend's car just got broken into the other day. My car's been broken into before, like my Prius that I got broken into in LA. And so I take extra precautions now to make sure my doors are locked, and I have curtains for my windows. I put those up before I walk away from my car. The windows are tinted, so you can't really tell that there are curtains up. It just looks like a really strong limo tint. But I don't want people to see in my car, and that's not something that I ever had to be concerned about with in Mammoth or when I'm in other like national parks and things like that. Not that I don't ever have to be concerned with it, but I'm very vigilant about it here, just because we're in a city, and that's the energy that I feel, is that I need to be aware of it. I don't feel scared, I just feel like I need to be aware. My doorknob has actually been yanked on a few times while I've been in my car, and I didn't actually get scared. I didn't feel like I was under threat, but they just didn't know that I was in there and they were trying to get into my car. That's alarming, obviously. Like I'm not gonna sit here and recommend that people live in cities in their car, because it actually is very challenging, and I wouldn't say that it's ideal by any means. I think it's way better to be in the woods doing this there. At the same time, I'm really happy that I'm doing it, because it's something I never thought I would do, but it's something I felt called to do. And I didn't feel scared at all. There was no hesitation. And some people were like, well, where are you gonna park? And it's gonna be different, right? And I'm like, I know, but it just felt like the logical next thing to do. And so that's what I'm doing. In terms of privacy and population, it's way different. There were places in Mammoth where I could park, I could just blast my music and not worry about turning my overhead light on. And sometimes I did. Sometimes I was really concerned to turn on my overhead light. I'm like, what if there's someone lurking in the woods or something like that? But now I think about it when I'm in the city and I'm parked somewhere, I'm like, dude, when I was in Mammoth, I could have been blasting my music right now and have my overhead light on, and I was scared to do it there. So I think it's making me appreciate more remote places that don't have the dense population of people. But then there are pros to being in this city too. I can get anything I need here. Mammoth is they might not have what you need, and it might take you a couple weeks to get what you need if you want to order it. And of course, there's a lot of places that you can work, lots of income potential streams. There's a lot of people here, and there's a lot of people who are doing very well here. And so the types of conversations that I have with people here are different than some of the conversations in general that I have with people in Mammoth, because the lifestyle is just different. They're both good. There's not one that's better than the other. I think they're both good for different reasons. It's just that life is different in both places. And there are precautions that I have to take when I'm in the wild too. I'm more concerned about bears breaking into my car or something, and but that never actually happened. My car's never, I've had interactions with bears, but never in my car, because if you're in your car, they don't want to break into your car. They only want to break in if you're not in there. Whereas here in the city, I've had 2 people try to break into my car while I was in it. And I always have said in the wilderness, I'm more afraid of people in cities than I am of wildlife. But when I first left, it was opposite. I was more afraid of wildlife. But the evidence shows me that actually people in cities are more dangerous than animals.
You mentioned kind of how you stumbled into climbing. What about yoga and meditation? Like, where did those originate from?
So I was engaged to be married at one point, and my ex, we didn't get married, but my ex-fiance one day, it's probably the best gift that he ever gave to me, was he recommended these guided meditations by Kelly Howell. It was easy for me to pop some headphones in and sit and listen to someone else tell me what to do. And so I started there. I actually went to my first yoga class with a friend, Danielle, and it was really hard, and I felt really incapable and embarrassed with the other people around me who looked like they knew what they were doing, and I was just like, you want me to do what and put what where? And I didn't fall in love with it at that point, but I was happy that I went because I think I needed the exercise, I needed the movement, and I wasn't doing any sort of exercise before that. Then not too long after that first class with my friend Danielle, my ex-fiance asked if I wanted to go do a Bikram yoga class because a studio had just opened up near his place. I went to a couple classes and just absolutely fell in love with that style of yoga. I loved the sweating. I had pretty severe acne when I started. Within about 3 months, my skin was clear. I think seeing that change in my physical appearance was really powerful for me, and it just felt good. Like my body started looking better. I started feeling muscular, which I never felt like I had muscles in my entire life, but I started to see like tone develop in the mirror, and I was like, dang, cool. And so I just kept practicing, and I was captivated. I loved the activity. I loved bonding with people who had the same love of the activity. And they were health conscious and positive influences on me, which was really important.
What do you get out of those activities?
Yeah, so it's been a really interesting progression, actually, because I started with meditation and nothing else, and I saw improvement in myself once I started doing that. In terms of my temperament and my ability to handle and manage stress and to communicate my needs. But I would say that I still wasn't really strong in those areas. I tended to be submissive and to kind of like let people plow over me in a way. I think I've become much more assertive over the past several years. I think it's a matter of confidence. Like feeling like, no, I know what I'm talking about. Like, and if you want to debate with me, we can get into a debate, but I'm not going to fold or change my mind because our opinions differ. Like we can agree to disagree, but I'm not going to let you push me over. That's a significant change that I've seen over the past several years since starting all of these things. So yeah, meditation is more of a mindset shift that I can detect in myself, but because of the mindset shift, it makes me want to do these other things that make me happy. And doing yoga and climbing, I'm happy doing them, or teaching children how to climb, I'm happy doing that. And so yoga is focused on mindset quite a bit, so it feeds into the meditation. It's kind of like an extension of that. In addition to the mindfulness, you have stretching and breathing. And I had never paid attention to my breath prior to starting yoga. But actually, I think it's what saved me in climbing is, like in the past, is having the ability to realize that I'm not breathing and then to get it back. Like I'm holding my breath because I'm scared or trying really hard and I forget to breathe, but then realizing that I'm not breathing and having the yoga background of continuing to breathe even when you're in stressful postures or situations has helped me in climbing to center myself when it really counts. If you're out with a partner who starts freaking out and you have to calm them so that you can continue to move, that's happened to me before. And I feel like 5 years ago, maybe I was meditating at the time and I had just started yoga. I'm not sure how I would have handled someone freaking out at 1,000 feet and then helped them to get them off of a mountain. But the yoga, I think, has helped me to focus my thought and like make me completely present rather than focusing on the fear. We start breathing really shallow when we get scared. So the ability to be aware of what my breath is doing and realizing that my breath dictates all of my other bodily functions. My heartbeat, for example, the way that my brain is transmitting signal to the rest of my body, it's affected by my breath. I think meditation has given me awareness to mindset and mindfulness. Yoga has given me awareness to breath and also my body awareness, just where my body is in space, so that when I got to climbing, I can focus less on the flexibility and less on, well, if I put my foot here, where is that in space, right? Like now I can see, okay, there's a foothold right there. I can look at it and know that my foot is going to go where I'm looking because I've created the body awareness with yoga. Climbing also is kind of like yoga and meditation put together. I'm starting to get to the point where I don't have to think so much to climb. And I've achieved this with yoga before, and it's a mind-blowing experience where I start doing my pranayama breathing in the beginning of a class, and then I don't even know what happened. This happened to me a couple of times where it's just all of a sudden I'm laying on my back and I'm like, class is over. I'm in final shavasana, and it was just it was like an instant, and I don't really remember the whole class. Yeah. So that's happened with me in yoga, and I feel that climbing it parallels yoga quite a bit in my experience. And so I feel like I'm approaching that place where I'm starting to be able to flow through climbs and look at routes and read them, especially with instructing children now. I'm starting to be able to read routes more efficiently. And so I don't have to think as much about the actual climbing. I can just flow. And I think it's priceless. I think it's a really valuable thing to have some activity where you don't have to think about it, because then it turns sort of into a meditation almost. When you meditate, it's the same effect. You're shutting everything down for a second, and what it does is it allows you to embrace the guidance that you can get from source. I think it makes a lot of sense with meditation and with yoga and with climbing if you're able to reach that, or with any activity. It's whatever it is for that person. For me, it's yoga, climbing, and meditation. But the ability to shut your brain down and just have a clear mind enables source or energy or whatever you want to call it to flow through you without the resistance of all of these thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not XYZ, I wasn't born into this kind of family. All of this stuff that's in our heads that just holds us back.